So for the first question, we've got 4 marks. We've got to reference ACCO and explain the characteristics of a service business, and it's given us 4 words: intangibility, simultaneity, perishability and heterogeneity. 4 marks. Those are jumping out as the headings that I'm going to use. I like the idea of headings, and you see what I've done there. So I've copied and pasted. I've then used bold, underlined them, and I've got my answer plan laid out there. And then for 16 marks, we're told to use this template, and there are 6 marks available for calculations. Based on the 6 dimensions of Fitzgerald and Moon's building block model, calculate the following KPIs as shown below for 20XT3 and 20XT4. Analyze the performance from 20XT3 to 20XT4 with these assigned KPIs as well as any relevant data provided. And it's given us the 6 dimensions here. It's given us the KPI for each of those. We need to do the calculations and the performance analysis. If there are 6 marks for calculations, that means there are 10 for the rest of the question. And given that there are 6 dimensions, we can assume there's 1 mark available for some, and then some of them our analysis is going to want to get 2 marks. You might prefer to do this first, you might prefer to do the other one. It's really up to you which order you do them in. I'm going to do them in the order we've been given them. So Auto Clinic is one of the authorized automobile service centers for one of the leading electric EV manufacturers in Estland. The role of these authorized automobile service centers is to provide compatible battery repair and maintenance services at locations where there is no service center operated by the manufacturer. There are 2 main types of services provided by all of these service centers. There's a warranty service and an out of warranty service. The warranty service is services provided where all authorized automobile service centers will charge the manufacturer with the same service fee per service, and the out of warranty services provided where all authorized service charge centers will charge the owner based on the service fee per service that is set by the respective service center. So there's a bit of a difference there. It's important to pick up on that. Warranty service, they carry out the service and they charge the manufacturer, and it's the same fee. And then the out of warranty, they charge the EV owner, and the fee is set by the service centre. It is common practice that most service centres will provide complementary services such as car wash, interior sanitising, etc. in order to attract and retain customers. ACCO has been well known for its excellent workmanship in repair and maintenance services, despite many comments relating to long waiting times and limited complementary services when compared to other service providers. Data extracted from management accounts for the most recent periods ending 31st of December are as below. We've got 20XT3 actual, 20XT4 actual and 20XT4 target. We've got revenue data, we've got operating profit, information on profit for the year, the non-current assets and the working capital and the operating profit margin, and then non-financial data. We've got the number of services performed, and it tells us that warranty and out of warranty are equal. Number of technicians, number of return in service due to last faulty service, where something hasn't gone well, average operating hours per week, average queuing time per service hours, and then whether it's offering those types of complementary services. So these characteristics, this is just taking some of the knowledge that you should have built up when you were doing your studies, given definition, but wrapping that definition up in Auto Clinic itself. So rather than just give textbook definition, what we want to try and do is loop it back into Auto Clinic and what it does. So here's my answer to part A. We're targeting 4 marks. So I've done 4 separate short paragraphs, each consisting of a couple of sentences. I have got a few typos in there, which happens when we type quickly. Don't waste time going back and correcting them. I can immediately see I've misspelled equipment there. As long as it's clear the word that I'm trying to say, there are going to be no marks for going back and correcting. So therefore I'm not going to waste my valuable time doing that. I will correct any where perhaps it's created ambiguity, but I wouldn't correct any where it's obvious what I'm saying. For intangibility, I've written ACCO's customers cannot physically see or touch the services before purchase. Quality will be judged on factors such as reputation, trust and past experience. Long waiting times have received comments, and customers may judge the quality of the service based on factors such as this. So I haven't just defined intangibility, i.e. they cannot physically see or touch services. I've mentioned the name of the company, and then I've used an example from the information given on the left, which may lead to how customers judge it. That's adding value based on the information we're being given. Simultaneity, the service is consumed at the same time as it is produced, so customer experience occurs in real time, i.e. whilst the technician is carrying out the service. Perishability, slots available for servicing by AC cannot be stored or saved. What's the implication here? This means if a service slot isn't filled, the potential revenue is lost. Scheduling and forecasting are critical to maximize utilization of technicians and equipment. And finally, heterogeneity. Each service carried out is different. It will depend on the EV model and the faults identified. Once again, specifics from the scenario linking to the definition. Similarly, each technician will have a slightly different approach. What can they do about this? Standardizing where possible, combined with staff training, are essential to ensure consistent customer satisfaction. That's an answer that will achieve 4 marks. That's as much as we need to say. I don't need to give lots and lots of examples for each. Just one example where relevant is all I need to give. I've incorporated the definitions. I've got a neat layout. The examiner would look at that and they would welcome that kind of approach. Some students would join all of these 4 sentences together, and it just makes it a lot harder for them to see where one point begins and ends and the next one begins and ends. It doesn't take any real time to use headings like this, and what it does mean is because I've used the headings, I don't actually have to use the word in the sentence. So I think I actually end up saving a bit of time by using the headings. So we've got 6 marks for calculations, but it's told us what calculations we're doing. So if you are stronger on calculations, maybe you want to go through and do all the calculations, make sure you pick up those 6 marks and then start doing the performance analysis. I think there's an argument for sticking with each one as it is. So focus on one of these building block dimensions, do the calculations and the analysis, at least getting 1 mark, and then do the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. That should get me all 6 marks for the calculations and 6 marks for the narrative, which means I've left 4 marks on the table. Then if I've got time, I will choose 4 of these and go back and make an additional point to try and capture those last 4 marks. If at that point I've run out of time or running out of time, I'll be moving on to the other section C question. Another thing to think about is whether we show our workings for calculations or not. I personally wouldn't show the workings for every single one. You might want to show the working for one of them and then just the answer for the others, because I don't want to waste my time writing the working out for each. If I've carried out an incorrect working on all 3 and I've shown it for 1, the marker will see what I've done wrong, and I might still capture some of the marks because I could get follow-through marks. And that's the approach I would take here. I think it's probably a little bit risky in this one just to put the answers in because it doesn't show any workings at all. So that's what I will do. I will show the workings for 1 and then the answers for the others where relevant. So I've done my calculation for return on capital employed. I've got 15%, 12% and 10%. I've shown the workings for the target, and I've made a comment which should score a mark. I've written that it's improved by 2 percentage points in 20XT4 compared to 20XT3, and it's still below the target. That probably isn't enough to score a point. All I've done is rewritten the numbers with a sentence, but that opens up an opportunity for me now to add value. And if I look across at the figures, what's caused that change? Well, I can see the operating profit has gone up, but not as much as we hoped. I see the non-current assets have gone up, but not by as much as expected. And I see the working capital has gone down, whereas we expected it to go up. So the improvement is really a combination, as I've written here, by an improvement in operating profit and a reduction in working capital. So I've put improvements due to that improved operating profit and a reduction in working capital. What I should now do, or could now do, is comment on the target that's not been hit. But to me, that's the second mark I can score in this one. And so I'm going to move on and do the other 5. And then if time allows, that's when I'm going to come back and make a second point here. So the competitiveness KPI is the average out of warranty service fee per service. The calculation is the revenue they get from those services divided by the number of out of warranty services, and we're told these are equal, so that's the 2,800 divided by 2. So what I've done is I've said that it's hardly changed. A $1 change on something like that is not material, so I've put It's decreased, albeit marginal. Why is that? Well, I'm looking at the number of services performed. They've increased quite a lot, but they're still way off target. I've put it may be in an attempt to meet the volume target of 2,800 services. The service centres have offered lower prices than expected, or maybe budgeted would be better. Again, I could make a second comment, but I'm going to go through and only come back and do that if I've got time. For the quality of service, we've got the percentage of returning services due to last faulty service. As you can see, the actual was 8.2 with a target of 8. It's gone up to 11%. So I've written there's a large decrease in the quality of service, leading to the percentage of faulty services increasing by around a third. So that's 2.8% on top of 8.2 is 0.34. Not only does this decrease customer satisfaction as these customers have to return to have more work done, it also ties up the technicians away from servicing other customers, most likely increasing waiting times and further adversely impacting customer service levels. That's definitely 1 mark. That could even be 2 marks. Next, on to resource allocation, the number of services performed per technician. The resource utilisation calculation is relatively straightforward. Number of services divided by technicians. We've seen an increase both on compared to the prior year and higher than the target. Our analysis, this has increased against both the target and the prior year, which is impressive. However, and this is a really key takeaway for these sorts of questions, if you can start linking parts back to other parts already done, that demonstrates that you're adding value and you're taking that overall picture. So as we've done some of these now, we can start to see if we're getting some results which link back to something we've already seen. This is another reason why I reserve those last 4 marks, because what I can then do maybe is go back and try and do this kind of approach where I link back to other parts of the building block model. We've just seen above that the faulty service rate has increased drastically, but the number of services performed by each technician has also increased. I've now put, however, it may be the technicians are now trying to rush work, which could account for the increased level of faulty services seen above. With flexibility, we've calculated the change in average operating hours per week, which has gone from 35 to 45, which is a 28.6% increase. There's been an increase in operating hours, presumably due to the increase in the number of available technicians. So we've seen an increase here, which has given additional hours. This is the implication. Customers will value this as they will be able to benefit from more choice as to when they have their EV service carried out. And then new complimentary services offered. It was 1, it is now 1. I haven't shown my workings. I hope the examiner wouldn't penalise me for not showing that. What's the comment? Given that customers value the complimentary services and no increase has been made, it's likely that this could adversely affect customer retention, especially if competitors are offering those complimentary offers. So I think I'm quite comfortable. I've got my 6 calculation marks and I've made 6 comments, all of which will score a mark, which is 12 marks, and maybe 1 up here I think possibly could score 2. Now if I had time I would go hunting to see if I can find the last 4 marks, but only up to the point where I'm using my 36 minutes. Another approach, let's say I had 5 or 6 minutes spare, I could move on to the other section C question and use my 36 minutes. And then whatever I've got left, I can think, where am I best going to get marks? Is it by coming back to this question and putting in some more, maybe doing some more on the section C question we haven't done? If I had any of my section A and B that were still flagged, maybe I would benefit most from going back and doing some of those. There is no right or wrong here. You just need to make a choice. Don't dwell on it too long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple more comments in some of these, but probably not 4. I'll probably just try and find 2 more things that I can put in to this question. If I got 18 out of 20, that's an excellent mark, so we're more than happy with that. So I've now added 2 more comments in. I've added 1 into the financial one. The other reason for this difference from target on the return on capital employed was because the non-current assets is lower than the target. Sometimes that's good, but not always. I've put it's also evident that non-current asset value is lower than expected. Whilst it may be the case that this is good as less capital is tied up, caution needs to be applied as old assets may be beyond their useful life and may be linked to the increased fault percentage seen later. So once again, I've added value by pulling some information from here and looping it back to another part. And with competitiveness, this is the one that didn't really change. I put competitive measures can be improved if external data is used. Benchmarking exercise could be carried out comparing fees charged by ACCO to its competitors. This will help them make more effective pricing decisions. So it now feels like I've got 14 of the 16 marks available. Under financial, we could have also talked about the target. Is the return on capital employed target of 15% reasonable? Quality of service, another comment could be the absence of information. Although it uses the KPI return in services, that's not really a very good measure of quality, because all that picks up is when it really has gone wrong. So maybe recommending some sort of customer feedback, and then we're measuring it from a positive aspect, not just a negative aspect. Again, with the number of services performed, it's a lot higher. It's definitely important to understand why that is. Is it because we've got more trained, more effective technicians, in which case that's great? Or is it because we're pushing too hard? And again, we could compare to other parties and see what they're doing. Flexibility, another comment that could have scored a mark in here, is to understand, are there peak times and quiet times? Because if we've increased the number of hours and all we've done is shifted from some customers coming in at some time to a different time, we haven't really improved what we're doing in terms of financials. We've improved the customer service because we're offering better service, but do we also have downtime where we're not utilizing resource? And that goes back to the previous question where we had the 4 definitions and we can't save up those appointments. There probably wasn't much more we could write there. So some of those, that last one I said does stray a little bit off the question, but I think it's probably good enough for scoring a mark. But the point I really want to get across is using the 16 marks to drive the amount of content and detail that I go into. So 6 for calculation. You see I then worked out there were 10 others. There are 6 sections, so I did 1 for each, leaving 4, and I targeted my answer to try and achieve those remaining 4. I actually only probably achieved 2 of them, but then I've spoken around some other things you could have put in. The point of this sort of question is you've got quite a lot of free reign on what you do. There are lots of right answers, and as long as you are adding value, you are interpreting the data, you're making valid comments, you're making recommendations, you're making reasonable assumptions on why something is the way it is based on this organization and what you know about it, all of those will be able to score marks. What doesn't score well is just saying something like, this is a large decrease in the quality of service. That probably won't score any marks at all. And a lot of students fall short. They shortchange themselves because they don't concentrate on this added value aspect in section C. If it's because they don't know what to say, then that's really difficult. But what's frustrating is they probably actually do know what to say. A lot of the time they just don't do it. Make sure you're adding value, and that's where you're going to collect these marks. Keeping an eye on the clock as well, making sure you're retaining that discipline. It's a bit of a balance, making sure you're getting those 2 things, but that's really a good strong approach to a section C question.